that. Let's send things back up to Bob Alexander.
Ladies and gentlemen, this feature bout is presented by Corporate Sponsors International in association with SJC Boxing, Pachette Promotions, Pennzoil, Cardenas Markets, and Corona, La Cerveza Más Fina. This feature bout is scheduled for 6 rounds of boxing in the junior middleweight division. Your judges at ringside are Fred Flutie, Bill Ray, and Mike Ross. Your referee is Jorge Alonso. Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner, weighing in at 150 1/2 pounds. He is wearing the black trunks with the red trim. He comes to us from Miami, Florida, introducing George Kellman. His opponent out of the blue corner, weighing in at 154 pounds. He is wearing the colors of the Italian flag, red, white, and green. Originally from Brooklyn, New York, now fighting out of Pembroke Pines, Florida, introducing Michael Corleone. 6 rounds of boxing in the junior middleweight division.
Michael. Instructions in the dressing room, okay? I want a clean fight. When I go for a break, step back, don't throw any punches. Any questions? Any questions? Touch him up. Let's go to work.
So it is George Kellman against Michael Corleone, who I'm sure has been kidded about his name numerous times, as he was by Smitty to weigh in, but not kidded too much, I hope. You never know.
No, you have to look over your shoulder when you...
So he's a delightful guy, actually. A kickboxing champion who has a 19-3 record as a kickboxer and is going to be fighting for the world title in the kickboxing world. Taking on George Kellman, who's the very definition of journeyman.
You're referring to his record.
Yes, I am. He's had some trouble, but
5 KOs though in his 8 wins.
yes. See what he does here against Michael Corleone, who is told us that, you know, he's, as a kickboxer, he's really more of a boxer anyway. Doesn't use his feet as much, only the mandatory number of kicks that you have to do. He said, so I feel more comfortable in boxing, but he said, you know, I haven't had the level of success at 31 in boxing that I have in kickboxing. And he's candid about it, partially because boxers are better at that than kickboxers.
You know, he did take on Adrian Stone, Sugar Shane Mosley's last opponent. He was beaten by him, but probably one of the toughest guys he's faced. Right now he's doing a pretty good job of working over Kellman.
He is working both the body and the head of George Kellman. Kellman comes in here off a loss to Juan Arroyo in April of this year.
Quite honestly, Kellman, or Corleone, told us he was happy about this matchup. He felt this was a good fight for him at this point in his career.
Translated, that means he feels definitely he can beat Kellman. Kellman has been in against some larger names over the years. 1992 fought Edwin Rosario, lost to him. And, also lost to Santos Cardona, Raul Frank, and a couple of other names of note, but it'll say all those ended up being losses.
Those are the Italian colors that Corleone is wearing.
Yes, they are.
Okay. The trunks.
Corleone comes in here off a technical draw with Emil Molinevic in May.
One thing, though, when you see a guy, and I've done so many fights with guys like Kellman, or like you say, journeymen, sometimes they're survivors, though. They know how to survive. They've seen and faced and lost to everything, so nothing really intimidates them.
Well, that's exactly it, and they're capable of going rounds. They just don't get wins.
Sparring partner mentality settles in with a lot of fighters like that.
Corleone being pretty active here in round 1. That'll do it for round 1.
That's it.
kickboxer and make all the Michael Corleone references and jokes you want. Let's get it out of your system now. Can we do that?
As long as we don't say anything about my Irish and Lebanese heritage.
Yeah, exactly. All right. By the way, the manager of Michael Corleone, Anthony Caliendo, who was quite the entrepreneur in this area, has a limo company that provides limos all around. He didn't provide one for us, so that wasn't a plug for barter, I want you to know.
Well, let's see where Al was headed.
No, there was no hint there. Corleone, being the more aggressive of the two fighters here. Kellman just not doing too much offensively. If you joined us late, Freeman Barr was able to get an important win, a stoppage in the 4th round over Ronnie Martinez. And put himself in line for a world title shot in the super middleweight division against Joe Calzaghe for the WBO title. Ubaldo Hernandez won a majority decision against Jose Rodriguez. Hugo Vargas knocked out Chinares Frager in round 1. Richard Hall knocked out Tony Spain in round 1, and Samuel Peter did the same to Shannon Heath. So a lot of quick stoppages tonight. Halfway through round 2.
Corleone pretty much having his way with Kellman. You mentioned they showed the boxing historian Hank Kaplan here right down the street. We took you by there yesterday. Was the winter home of Thomas Edison, who actually had put together some of the first ever fight footage that was ever recorded.
I did not know that Thomas Edison had a winter home here. So,
right down the street.
Yeah, I learned something. Got to see, we drove right by his house. So that's a little history in this trip for us.
Of course, he also had a home in New Jersey. We should have stopped by my old home.
I don't, you know, it's just possible your home isn't quite as famous as Thomas Edison's. Call me a nut, but I'm just willing to say that. I don't want to go out on a limb and suggest that. About a half-minute left to go in round number 2. This one is scheduled for 6.
Now when I describe my home in Vegas, I say right down the street from Mike Tyson, Wayne Newton, and Al Bernstein.
Oh, there you go. We all do live in the same neighborhood, kind of.
That's right.
Their houses might be a little bigger. Seconds left to go here in round 2. That'll do it for the second round of this scheduled 6th rounder.
Let's go. Come on, guys.
We move into round 3 of this scheduled 6th rounder as we conclude our evening of CSI boxing from Fort Myers, Florida. Al Bernstein along with James Smith. Hope you've enjoyed our presentation. We had lots of fireworks, early stoppages, and we had Freeman Barr winning in the 4th round against Ronnie Martinez. Right now, it's Michael Corleone in the white trunks and George Kellman in the black trunks. Corleone pretty much had his way in this bout. I never did get to you as a Florida resident. You have to choose down here, I guess, whether you're going to be a Gator fan or a Seminole fan.
No, I'm born and raised in Miami, so that
you're
makes me a Hurricane fan, without question. Yeah.
Right, so yeah, exactly. That was the 3rd team. I forgot them.
Well, basically,
they've only won like 6 national championships.
We have been. Florida is the mecca of college football.
So it is. 3 best over the course of the last decade and a half that you can make that statement. Under 2 minutes left to go here in round 3 as Corleone continues to whack away, and Kellman, who was the ultimate survivor prior to the TV series coming on.
Although Corleone...
And we can say that he will not be posing in Playboy as some of the survivors
Corleone, though, clearly a club fighter, but, you know, for a guy that, you know, is from the martial arts and whatever, he has demonstrated some, you know, some at least basic boxing skills.
He's a sound boxer. Good jab, good straight right hand. Not punching with huge power, which is also a trait of a lot of the kickboxers that get into boxing. They don't seem to pronate their punches as well or set down on them and have as much power. He was a delightful guy when we chatted with him. And
yeah, he actually made it a point of coming back over and said, you know, despite my record, I've never been knocked out.
Here's Kellman coming back with some offense. So George Kellman, who has done not much offensively, now goes to work a little and lands a right hand as Corleone fights off the ropes. We're approaching the halfway point in this bout. Scheduled for 6, our final bout of the evening.
Makes it interesting when you go from like a world-class fighter, you know, like a Freeman Barr or a Hall, Richard Hall, to these kind of guys. But that's what rounds out boxing cards. Sometimes, and the fans are still here.
Yeah, they're hanging in there. All levels of boxing, certainly, as you go up and down the card. And we are going to reach the halfway point in this matchup, and Corleone gets some shots in. We move into round 4 of this 6-round encounter. Michael Corleone in the white trunks, George Kellman in the black. And they said to Kellman in between rounds, look, you can beat this guy. I know you can. Well, unfortunately, though, to do that, Kellman is going to have to throw at least 1 or 2 punches. And he hasn't thrown too many.
You'd have to say that he's been pretty much in a defensive posture throughout this fight in his career. Corleone, I have winning the first 3 rounds.
Yeah, Kellman has done really not much offensively. He had a flurry toward the end of that last round, but that's about it. Corleone's been more active, certainly, of the 2 fighters.
Kellman just reminds me of a sparring partner, that sparring partner syndrome, you know, just letting the other guy get off, letting the other guy punch, occasionally throwing a shot just to keep you honest. But that happens to some fighters early in their career, and they never get out of it.
Yeah, just doing enough to be in there. And Corleone, while he's been kind of aggressive, is not fighting the most aggressive fight in history, so it has made for a not so scintillating affair. We're under 2 minutes left to go here in round 4. Corleone's done some pretty good body work.
Although I think we are seeing the best of Michael Corleone, perhaps. He said he's in the best shape of his career.
Well, he's winning this fight, that's for sure. You could say that. Halfway through round 4.
Corleone only had 6 amateur fights, and we mentioned the martial arts background. Probably never should have been there with Adrian Stone. Said he won the first 2 rounds of that fight, though.
Everybody says they won the first 2 rounds. Every human says they won before they got knocked down. So I got to look at the tape before I'm willing to accept that. Also, who was it? Hernandez told us he was winning against Navarro. And I'm not, even though he ended up winning.
So you're questioning the veracity of Corleone?
No, I'm not. He's a very nice man, but I
just question his veracity.
Yeah, I just don't know, you know, against Stone. For sure, we could say he was winning those first 2 rounds. Under a minute left to go here in the 4th round. Al Bernstein and James Smith as we wind down on our CSI boxing show from Fort Myers.
Corleone in good condition, though. He says he does the combination of workouts between the martial arts and boxing.
Kellman with a good right hand.
Kellman's best punch of the fight.
So round 4 comes to a conclusion, and Michael Corleone continues to control this bout, even though Kellman did land 1 good right hand. Polka dots, the outfit of the day.
Anything works in Florida.
Michael Corleone has got a little bit of a gash underneath his left eye,
Shit, it's in the other bag.
which I presume must have come from a punch that Kellman did land a couple of right hands, so he's thrown at least 2 or 3 in this fight, so something got in there. And there's a little bit under the right eye too. we were pointing out how Corleone is supposed to fight for a kickboxing world title soon, so he doesn't want to get cut in a fight like this. That would be not so good for him. We head into the 5th round.
Corleone's 19-3 as a professional kickboxer and has held 5 titles, so he's done quite well in the kickboxing.
Let him go. Last round, touch floor.
We head into the 6th and final round. Michael Corleone in the white trunks, George Kellman in the black, and after a lull for 5 rounds, we saw some big action toward the end of the 5th when George Kellman hurt Corleone. Let's see if he can follow up with it.
Well, he should be all over Corleone the way he had him so battered and hurt at the end of the last round and needing a knockout, as you mentioned, to win, Kellman. He should be jumping right on his opponent, but
well, he's moving forward, but every time Corleone punches, Kellman just kind of stops. Corleone was in big trouble toward the end of the 6th round. He was really whacked and hurt by a couple of right hands. Kellman using the jab. Big right, and down goes Michael Corleone. He is stunned. After controlling this fight for 5 rounds, Michael Corleone is being hurt. If you asked me in a million years that this fight would turn around, I would have never, ever, ever expected it. And right now, Kellman can knock him out anytime he wants if he keeps throwing punches, and it is stopped. Wow. Well, George Kellman, trust me, he doesn't get too many wins. He is the ultimate in journeyman. It's almost as if he said, I can do this. And he did it. All right, a fun moment.